Welcome to the August Spectacular Entrepreneur Show, and we are really happy to have you here with us again today. I am Nanette Polito, your host and moderator. I am a franchisee owner of Asentiv here in the greater Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky, and I'm helping to create amazing businesses and spectacular lives in this region. I have with me today New York Times best-selling author, speaker, and entrepreneur. Mike and his business partner, Dr. Ivan Misner, co-authored the world's best-known marketing secret, Building Your Business by Referral and Truth or Delusion, Busting Networking's Biggest Myths. If you've not read any of these books, I highly recommend them, which has hit several of the bestseller lists, including the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, and USA Today and Amazon. Mike is co-founder of Asentiv. He has built Asentiv from a small training and consulting company to an international organization on 6 continents. Mike gives back to his community by volunteering. He holds positions on the board of directors at the Wisconsin Big Cat Rescue, a nonprofit organization caring for abused or neglected tigers and lions. He also is an avid cyclist, and one of the proudest moments was he twice competed in the Leadville Trail 100 mountain bike race in Colorado. And I will tell you, that is a spectacular feat that he did. When he's not helping entrepreneurs, big cats, and cycling, he has a passion for his wife and entertaining his friends. And the other person that you can see on the screen here is Dr. Ivan Misner, who probably needs little introduction, but we're going to let you know who he is. He is also co-founder of Asentiv and is recognized as one of the world's leading experts on business networking and referral marketing. Along with those skills, Dr. Misner brings his expertise and wisdom of growing a small business started in a garage and turning it into a global brand. Dr. Misner co-founded Asentiv to make his decades of experience accessible to today's entrepreneurs. So welcome, Ivan. And who you can't see but is here and we have missed because he's not been with us for the past couple of months, but as always, he's traveling the world, and I believe he's coming to us from Ireland, is the awesome Eddie Esposito. Eddie is an international expert on relationship development and communication skills. He challenges entrepreneurs around the world to leverage the untapped potential of their networks, continually developing themselves as leaders and to create an amazing business and a spectacular life. Eddie is a longtime business coach and is co-founder of Asentiv, a worldwide consulting and coaching company focusing on supporting the life of the entrepreneur. He has contributed several best-selling books, including The World's Best-Known Marketing Secret by Referral and The Just Reach Truth and Delusion, Busting the World's Biggest Networking Myths. He's also featured on many radio shows and newspapers throughout Europe and the United States. So today, we are going to be talking about, are you drawing the right customers towards you, your right clients? Do you have enough of them? And so with that, I'm going to turn it over, but however, what I want you to do is please note in your dashboards, there is a question area, and we want you to participate with us live. So if you have a question, please put that question in there so we can get it on. And Eddie, so good to see you. You just joined us, so nice to have you here. Technology. So gentlemen, welcome, and I turn it over to you.
Oh, thank you, Nanette. Yeah, we had polled our audience asking what type of topics they would like to hear about, and this one came up in a number of different ways, and so we kind of pooled it all together and talked about enough clients or the. And to start this out, what I'd like to ask the audience to do is to take some notes and write some things down. So we have some questions for you that we'd like you to put down your valid answers. And we're going to start with this. Enough clients. Well, how much is enough? So viewing your business right now, viewing your capacity, how many clients do you actually need to be working at that optimal level or at full capacity? Okay. So Nanette, if you would change to the next screen. Eddie, you just flipped upside down. If
I didn't touch your video.
So you can stay like that if you'd like, but it's interesting.
It looks okay to me, so I don't know. I think it's on your end, Mike.
What is enough? And then simply, how many do you have right now? If 10 clients is your ideal workload and you already have 7, now you know how many you need. And the reason we're starting off with this question is many times people get overwhelmed feeling like they're not hitting their target, they don't have enough clients, which can be the case. And in a lot of cases, how far they need to move the needle is not that far. For example, if we were to look at our current capacity and how many we need, and it's basically a 10% movement, that may not be such a stretch, if you would. All right. So the first thing is to get complete clarity is, what does that number look like? Right? So at this point, I'm assuming everybody has that. So the next step is, well, who's your target audience? Who is that target market? And I'm gonna pass this one off to Eddie in talking about that target market and how important that is, that there's clarity around that, so that you're not spinning your wheels, running all over town, working with more suspects than prospects. So Eddie, if you'd like to pick it up on target market.
Yeah, several things go into the target market discussion, and it's not just about the ones that are going to make the most money. I think the ones that you most realistically can get to come on board for whatever it is you're trying to promote or market, because not every product, say, is the same. So depending upon your situation, if the reason you're moving to or trying to target a market is for immediacy, then it's going to be more based on who you resonate with the quickest, and what could be the quickest sale that's going to affect what you're trying to impact. If it's a longer term thing, then the target market is going to be more about what your really sweet spot is for your company, that's the most profitable and the most pleasurable for you, and which ones your company best deals with. So I think there's a couple of things. Both are valid. But we'll go with going with the long term one. The target is really about what is the sweet spot for your company. Who do you service the best and makes the right amounts of money that the company is going to move forward? And that's a quick look at, I guess, how you would take a real more defined look at what your target market means to you. Ivan, I'm sure you have a lot to add on that one.
No, I think you covered it really well. I think what happens is that, I mean, the only thing I would add is I think that people sometimes will just take any client they get because it means money. And so you hate to say no. And I get that. Listen, we've all been there. I was certainly there. But I think you learn pretty quickly that you just can't say yes to any check. That you really have to focus on your sweet spot, on your wheelhouse, on what you do best, and build on that. And taking any kind of client that comes your way is probably, in the long run, really a bad idea. And so understanding then your target market is critical, because you literally can't hit a target you're not aiming at. And I remember as a young man hearing Ken Blanchard talk about setting targets and setting goals. He says sometimes, it's kind of like you've got this target out there and you put a blanket in front of it and you say, hit the bullseye. Where's the bullseye? Well, if you don't know where the bullseye is, you can't hit the target. So you have to understand what your target market is in order to get there. And it needs to start, I believe, with what's in your wheelhouse. What do you do best?
Yeah. Nanette, can you proceed to the next slide?
I can.
Okay. Along Ivan, with taking on any business, particularly in businesses where there's negotiations on price, that's a typical process in the sales process. We have to be careful, what business we take on, because it may not only serve our business, it could actually end up costing us money to do business with certain people. And so just taking on business that's going to make you lose money, of course, is not the objective. So that target audience, that target market should be the right client and serve us in terms of not only bringing on extra clients, but making the money we should for our clients. So just a couple of basic things to look at in that target market is, what do those demographics look like? What do the psychographics look like for that type of prospect? And what is the availability of people in that target market? Many times when I see people going way too broad and looking for people anywhere that do anything, that want anything, that just can spend money with me, they don't have a clear understanding of how maybe saturated their market is with the exact type of client they want. And that takes a little bit of research. I like using the Census Bureau. That gives me some good broad information, but there's certainly more targeted resources out there that can tell you exactly how many people in your market fit that target audience.
Yeah, Mike, I'll add a little to that one, because this is a personal experience I had with that. I looked at what seemed to be a good target market for myself. At the time, I owned a catering company, and it was a local university, and it was for the EMBA programs. It was an executive lunch every week. Pretty sweet. You know where you're going, what you're doing. You can kind of plan for it or whatever. Still in all, the delivery time, the price point, what they wanted as compared to the type of food or the types of things that I was prepared to offer was a complete mismatch. And I liked the guy who ran the program. He liked me, but it just never fit, even though it looked good on paper. Mm-hmm. Like the price points, and so you can't go by the checkbook here. And so, like you were saying, is the demographic match to what you actually do best, the sweet spot. Now, that's it, because the checkbook can be really seductive in this reasoning when looking at it, but it's not. It's more about what, as Ivan said, sweet spot in the best match, because you don't want to end up with a whole bunch of clients that aren't a match because they'll tear the company apart.
Mm-hmm. I also think about that opportunity, Eddie, in your previous catering business, where a large paycheck from a casino hired you, and it was going to make your company very vulnerable. Where all the eggs were in one basket, it brought you beyond your capacity, and it was going to be short-lived.
Yeah, and they had a bigger appetite than I had a credit line. So that was dangerous.
Good. All right. And then if you go to the next screen, we're going to talk about, so where are they showing up? Okay, when we define what that target market is, where are you naturally going to find them? And sometimes that may mean contacting or connecting with them directly, and other times you may find them showing up in groups. For example, it may be professional associations. If your target audience is mortgage brokers, for example, okay, in real estate groups, you're going to find a lot of mortgage people. Eddie, any other comments about where people are showing up? Your target market.
Well, yeah, I think they show up there, and I think they're around you a lot of the times, and you don't realize it. I'm going to actually defer to Ivan on this one, because you and he were actually talking about this last week when we were together, about the different types of organizations that Ivan went to at first out of interest, then a little bit more intentionally, and the ways he was more in front of a target audience. And if you could, Ivan, pick up on that, it was really, really pointed.
I don't remember the exact conversation, but here are my thoughts on it. Feel free to
things that you got involved with, and
so when I was a business consultant, clearly I realized that a great way to get business was through referrals. Nobody hired a consultant off of an advertisement. They didn't. And I made these really, really expensive brochures, really nice. Nobody ever hired me off of the brochure, ever, not once. And this is, 83, 84, so there was no internet. And so it was about getting out there and making networking of contacts for it. And I went to some networks that were really mercenary for me. They were just about doing business, and I'd come back from those and feel like I needed a shower because I'd been slimed. And I really didn't like those. And then there were some that were just social. It was all about happy hour, and it wasn't water in the drinks. And it was happy hour and hors d'oeuvres, and it was just really social. I felt like nothing was accomplished. And so I really looked for, I decided to do a couple things. One was I decided to start B&I, which I felt blended. But I also participated in groups that I felt were niches. like a service club, Rotary, Lions, Kiwanis. I was involved in a service organization. I went to an association, a broader management association that got me into these, and that's where I started thinking about what we've written about in several of our books, about the different streams of your network and how they all come into the river of your networking. And so casual contact networks like Chambers, these are all places that I found some contacts with, but it was all face to face. And I know at some point here today we're going to talk about social media versus face to face, Michael.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, could you pull up the next screen, please? So once we've calculated where we're going, how many we need, one of the things we want to make sure we're clear on in our marketing and sales process is what does that conversion look like? Whether I need 100 clients or I need 10 clients, okay, how many prospects do I need to be in front of and have a meaningful conversation with? And the best analysis of that is just to go back and look at what your actual conversion has been. It's interesting a lot of times with business people, they really like the layups, and we all do. The people that walk in the door and they're saying yes before you ask. But the other part of the reality of business is there's going to be a large percentage of people that may say no, okay, or no, not now. And Ivan was alluding to the different sources of advertising or marketing. Each source is going to have a different conversion. When I get a personal recommendation, that's very different than when I get an online lead. That does not make the online lead, okay, insignificant. And I'll give you a quick story on that. I was working with a gentleman in the entertainment industry, and on any given weekend, he would have 8 to 12 DJs out there doing shows. And so he'd have to generate quite a bit of business to keep all of these people busy. And as you can imagine, networking and referrals was a big part of his business. He also had exclusive contracts with some of the venues. Okay, he was also extremely effective with online marketing. Okay, he would generate leads weekly, okay, from his Yelp advertising, Google ads, and so forth. One of his biggest frustrations was people coming to the table and want to price shop him against Craigslist service providers. That would drive him crazy because he didn't operate at that level. And what he was finding is his online was creating the most price-sensitive nickel and dime type of clients. And yet, even though it was a high percentage of those, because of the frequency, he was still getting a significant amount of business from online. So what I'm saying here is his conversion was very low with online, and the only thing he needed to put in place is a better filter. And here was a simple filter. He stopped negotiating sales by email. And when these leads came in, he says, I would best be able to give you a proposal if I knew more about your event. May we schedule a phone call? And he also knew very confidently from his experience that once he got a meeting with a person in face or on the phone, his conversion went up significantly. So again, each of these marketing vehicles will convert differently. Ivan, you and I had a conversation a ways back about the freelance consultant survey. And this was 1,200 consultants that completed a survey on how they were conducting the business, how they were getting business, and what they were going to do differently. Do you mind sharing some of that information?
Yeah, so I took a good look at that. You brought those reports to my attention. It's the Freelance Industry Report. And I've started working on an article on this, and I really appreciate you bringing it out to me. It's amazing. It's an amazing story because in 2011, the Freelance Industry Report did a really thorough survey of the industry, and one of the many questions they asked is, what's been the most effective method of finding and landing clients? Now, 4 out of the top 5 answers were all networking related. Word of mouth, referrals, personal and professional network, local networking. And these added up to 69.5% of all the business development for the respondents. So social media ranked as number 8 with only 2.8%. With only 2.8%. But that's not the amazing thing. When they were asked, so which marketing method do you plan on spending more time and resources on in the next 12 months, social media ranked number 1 with 46.1%. But wait, that's not the most amazing part of this story. You see, when the next year report came out, the 2012 report came out, the networking related choices for how respondents actually generated their business was now up to 74.3%. So it went from 69 to 74%. But where was the social media, you may ask? Well, with all their commitment to focus more time and resources on social media, the report found that the respondents had moved the needle to 2.8%. Oh wait, that was the same as the previous year. So here's the most amazing part of the story. Despite their commitment to put more time and resources on social media to generate their new business the following year, the respondents actually didn't move the needle at all. Zero, zip, nada. And now the really, really, really crazy thing is that in that report, 42.8% of the respondents said that the next year they were going to focus more on, you got it, social media. So there's a saying for this: what's the definition of insanity? Doing something over and over again and expecting a different result. And I think that's what happens with small business people way too often, is that they hear about, you know, the latest, greatest, bright, shiny object, and they put all their attention into it, and they don't really know their numbers and their results.
Yeah, and something like that is...
I'd add one little piece to that, too, is if you really think about, you know, business owners and just as human beings, through life we grow up talking to people, going to school, going to organizations and different things. Networking, even though some people may not like it, is much more familiar than a lot of these other things. To run a really coordinated, good social media campaign is a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
It is more money than you think it is. And so thinking that they're just going to do that and have a result is not realistic. There has to be a solid plan and budget for it as well. And I do think it's necessary, but it's not casual at all. And I think that's a big piece of that gets, because, hey, I can do that for free, right? No, you can't. It's not going to happen that way.
Not well, no.
No, that's right.
Well, and
social media, you just won't like it.
yeah, and I think what you said, Eddie, is very true. I think that people think it's easier. There are people who are afraid to get out there and network because that whole people interaction thing can be very scary. But however, I mean, we just had a young lady who stood up in front of a whole group of people today and said, I never realized before how business is so much better when I actually get out there and talk to people. And that's what business really is all about, is making those relationships and making them work.
Yeah, and if I had to just like sum up in one sentence what Ivan was saying, maximize that piece first before you start getting watered down in other things. You know, because that's proven to be, and that's the people, at least in that survey, and what's more natural, even though you may not like it, is that kind of networking type activity.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this goes back to something, Ivan, you've been saying for years about the cave dweller. And, you know, that's probably over 15, 20 years ago. I heard you talk about people getting into their cave of their home, their car, their office cave. Well, it's only gotten worse. Technology has allowed us, more of us, to work from our home offices, for example, and not have to get out there. It's only got more challenging, not less.
We have gone from one room in our cave to another room in our cave, especially people who don't have an office. You know, it's particularly true for people who are working from home. And you know, when I started my business, working from home was really unheard of. This will really date me. You couldn't get a business license working out of your home. You could not. I could not join the Chamber of Commerce working from my home. So the first almost 2 years of running my consulting business, I could not be a member of the chamber. Not a full, I think they had an associate membership where you're not a real business. So that's what I did. But it wasn't until like 86 or 87 that I was able to get an actual chamber membership. So the world obviously has changed with these kinds of things. Working from home is awesome. I mean, this is my home in Austin. This is my office in Austin. Eddie, Mike, you've been here. I love working from home, but the problem with it is you don't get out enough. And so you have to make a concerted effort to get out and actually network so you're not a cave dweller.
Yeah. And just to conclude this topic on the social media effect, all of us, all the panelists here, use social media, and it can be very effectively used to support your relationship marketing. So we're not dissing it. We just want to make sure that people look at it realistically and appropriately. All right, so my marketing campaign is not going to have 75% vested into social media. Okay, I want to put my biggest resources on what is known to work and what is proven to work, and that's going to be high-touch relationship marketing, supported with high-tech. Nanette, would you mind bringing up the next slide, please?
And Dan Hammonds asked me if I knew that if the person is Candy. Yes, that is who I'm talking about, and she is an awesome member. So you're right, Dan. That's who it is.
So next question is there a difference in the sales conversation when you've been recommended? So if we look at other ways that business may be coming to us, whether it's through online or other advertising, when it's a personal recommendation or a referral, okay, is there a different sales conversation? And first of all, I'd like to say there's two aspects of that. The first is, in your sales conversation, when you transition from a prospect to a sales conversation, are you doing an effective diagnosis? Are you effectively determining the problem that needs to be solved? Okay, and I think whether you're personally recommended or it comes another way, prescription without diagnosis is malpractice. So even though they've been recommended, we can't automatically assume they're just there to buy. I got a referral, they must be ready to buy, let me get their checkbook out. So on both cases, I feel that it's necessary to really do a true evaluation as to what is their circumstance, what is the problem, and am I the best solution? Now, it is different when you've been recommended because they are walking through the door with a level of trust. And sometimes they may even have a level of understanding of how you do business, depending on how well educated your referral source was. Okay. We also believe that your number one responsibility when you get a recommendation or referral is to make the referrer look great. Okay, that's a responsibility we have because somebody else's reputation is on the line when they're recommending us. So our recommendation is, starting off that conversation, is to start off by, not maybe initially, hello, how are you, my name is this a good time would be a good way, but the next part of that conversation should be about the referrer. So, I so appreciate Nanette in making this recommendation. May I ask you, how do you know Nanette? What's your relationship with her? Okay. What is it that she said that intrigued you today? So make it all about the referrer source and making them look good. Now, that serves us in a couple of ways. First of all, we're acknowledging with the person that we were referred. Okay, we're obviously honoring the person that referred us, and in many cases, we're giving the prospect the opportunity to relive the testimonial or the recommendation. Okay, so in that aspect of it, it's a different conversation, even though both of them would lead to a diagnosis of the problem. Eddie, I know the transition from referrals to sales is a big part of what you lead with a Certified Networker program. Do you have something to add to that? Nanette, did we drop Eddie from Dublin?
Well, Eddie still showed that he was connected, but so I was thinking that he turned off his video. Are you there, Eddie?
Yeah, I'm here. The internet, the camera thing froze. I just took the camera off.
Okay, that's what I thought. I thought he was still here. Thanks, Eddie.
Yeah, Mike. Well, I think it comes from understanding that buyers run along a timeline from when they're not even aware of who you are and something makes them aware of who you are and something piques their interest to then they kind of figure out whether they have the problem that you're trying to address, evaluate you as a solution, then buy. The advantage of the referral is they've probably already been updated on 3 or 4 of the first of those things. So they're coming in further on a timeline closer to the end. So I used to always have a saying before I actually realized all these different places that if I could get a one-to-one somebody, I'd say it's 1 and 1 and done. Well, I hope so. They were at the end of the buyer's timeline. They're ready to go by that point. And the referral was the reason they were so far down the line. And I think, so by getting the referral, it's definitely a time saver. You come in at a higher level of trust because they've done some background research at this point and they've gotten other opinion, and particularly of the source. So yeah, it's got all those things that add up to closer to the end of the timeline of buying, and the trust factor from the person who referred them, the time to make a little research. It's just a better environment all around to make that sale happen.
Ivan, any suggestions you would have on converting prospects into customers and whether it's referred or not?
Well, there's referred sales are always better. I mean, there's just almost no business where that's not the case. I mean, I'm sure there are some, but virtually all businesses, referred business is better. And at the same time, a referral is different than a sale. I mean, sometimes referrals lead right into sales, but I believe you really actually need some sales skills if you want to be good in your business and to convert those referrals into sales. Now, granted, the sales comes easier, but you actually have to learn some sales techniques. It's one of the reasons why one of the books I wrote was on sales, called Masters of Sales, because I was finding people getting these referrals and going, okay, now what? Or I got a referral, or I got 10 referrals and only 1 turned into a sale. Well, yeah, it's, you know, a referral's not a sale. They're definitely different, but a referred prospect is much more likely to convert into a sale. Does that add to the conversation?
No, I think having that clarity as what a referral is and what a sale is significant. You know, when I get a referral, it's an opportunity to talk to somebody about my business, how I might be to serve them.
Well, and if I can just add, in B&I, we say a referral is an opportunity to talk to somebody about doing business with them. It's not a closed deal, although that is the ultimate objective. A referral is not generally a closed deal.
You know, and when I watch someone get completely unwound because the referral didn't turn into a sale, many times it goes back to 4 slides ago. They don't know what the conversion is. They don't know the number of conversations they need to have, and they're putting all this weight as, oh, I really need this one. And they're so desperate for it, they're shattered when it doesn't happen, so they'll go back and blame the referral source.
Yeah.
And that happens when
we got ourselves in a little bit of trouble when Truth or Delusion came out, and I don't know if you remember, but I remember it was one of us standing on stage, one of us, and it wasn't me, standing on stage and saying, hey, if you're not getting enough business, it's all your fault. You remember that?
Yeah.
I think it was in New Orleans.
That wasn't me.
It wasn't me either. And it might not have been this Mike either, just for the record. But I remember it's all your fault. And okay, so it's true. It might be a little blunt, but it's true. If you're not getting all the business you want from your referrals, it is probably your fault.
Yeah, and we kind of take a philosophy and Asentiv that it's all my responsibility.
Yeah.
Okay, do I have to develop a better relationship? Do I have to better educate them? Do I have to better inspire them? But it's our responsibility to make that happen, not theirs.
Right.
Now, we did mention about our number 1 responsibility is to make the referral look great. And I'll add one more thing to that. Even if it means not taking the sale, if there's a better solution than ourselves, if we were able to do that with a prospect, think about the referrers being compelled to want to do it again and again and again, knowing the way that you're serving these referrals. So sometimes when we evaluate it, even if it means turning down the business because there's a better solution for that person. And I know for a lot of people, they look at it and go, I don't turn down business.
that just happened to me, by the way. I referred somebody, and they went in, and they could have taken the job. They could have taken the job, but they said, look, guys, you need to do some work before you want to bring me in. You need to lay this up before you want to bring me in, because I can do a much better job for you if you do A, B, and C before I come in. And he would have got a check up front if he would have said, yeah, sure, I'll take this. But no, he didn't. And so I looked good to the person I referred him to, because they said, wow, he actually said, no, not yet. And he told us what we needed to do before we should hire him. And yeah, you're right. You can look really good with a referral if you send somebody to them that really assesses their need and is honest with them. And sometimes honesty is, I can't help you right now.
I know most of us have been annoyed by slick sales pitches, and just a couple of recommendations to our audience. When you're looking at this sales conversation, the sales conversation should be all about questions and not pitches. And at the end, you're going to make a recommendation or you're going to provide a solution. But that whole sales process, if it's meaningful questions, is going to be a lot more enjoyable for the prospect, a lot more insightful and enjoyable for you. And I know when I talk about sales scripts, people, I don't like those scripts because they're usually pitches, and they're usually recycled pitches. But I highly recommend that everyone have the most significant questions you need to ask to evaluate if there's a problem and it aligns up with you as a solution. And starting off with, if it was a recommendation, is how do you know that referral source? Okay, may I ask, what did they say that intrigued you to want to have this meeting? All right, starting off with those conversations, and then getting into the, you're a doctor, they're a patient. What are the things you're going to need to know first? Do you need to know the temperature? Do you need to know where the pain is? You need to know what the symptoms are. Okay, and all of our businesses may be different, but you should have, at least 3 to 5 of those most significant questions that need to be asked to start the conversation. Now, those questions can also have questions behind them depending on what the answer is. Right? And a couple of things here. First of all, it's going to allow you to actually prescribe the right solution because you've done the proper diagnosis. I can almost guarantee you your conversion will probably go up, okay, by taking on the right people. And here's the other part. You'll also find that your sales cycle will get shorter. Okay, it's not a lot of pitch, overcome objection, and pitch. And the old ABCs of sales is not really antiquated. It is disgusting. ABCs always be closing. Always be closing. And then when they have an objection, how to overcome the objection, and always be closing. That's a very bad model, and it should go away with the 50s and 60s. Eddie, comments on that sales process?
Oh, yeah. Actually, what you're describing is very much an assessment as opposed to a sales script. It is a script because you need to ask certain questions to find out if the needs in the product and the solutions match. And sometimes it's about even backing up further where they're not looking and challenging that a little bit. But I think for some people, just taking the idea that it's a sales script at all out of the equation, it's helpful because it's really not. It's just an assessment. And if you do that, and then the client's walking along with you, the prospect is walking along with you, they would hopefully be discovering things as well. And so it's valuable for them as too. So that's the more modern, more effective way of once you've got the appointment, what's actually going to happen successfully.
Mm-hmm.
Audience, if you have some questions, please get them up there. We'd love to have you chime in here for us. I'm sorry, Mike, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Not at all. After the assessment is done, like Eddie mentioned, here's something to consider as a requesting people take the next step. Based on everything you've told me, and in my expert opinion, Okay, so you basically reflect on everything they've told you. You may want to summarize it. You know, based on what you've told me and my expert opinion, I would recommend the following. And it may be a recommendation to go forward with you, or you may even have a couple of options. Okay, so my recommendation, my expert opinion would be to do one of two things. Some people find that they want to work with me individually when we do group coaching. Others find that they would rather do it in a group setting, in more of a classroom, to have the support of other people. Okay? And so I would ask them, you know, which one sounds most attractive to them. Okay, and then from there I can lead them and say, okay, well, to start this is what we will do next, and this is what it's going to look like. Okay, so it's not like we're avoiding asking for the business, but we simply do it by making a recommendation and ask them what they think or how they feel.
It's really known as an either-or option that you give them. You know, here are a couple of options that I recommend for you, either this one or this one, which works better for you. And that is part of it is no question part of the sales process, but it's got to be, if it's done effectively, it's got to be done, you know, really truly with more of the potential client's needs in mind, as opposed to simply closing a sale.
You know, if I really just put this concisely, is when you're doing relationship marketing, you want it to lead and dovetail nicely into relationship selling. If you're doing relationship marketing and you're trying to do transactional selling, right, you're probably not going to get a lot of referrals going forward. Right. So you want people to understand that you're going to really nurture that relationship. You're really going to do a thought out diagnosis and analysis, okay, and then ultimately, you know, bring on the client, but done in a relational way.
Yeah, and if we take a look at actually the whole conversation that we've been having here and where it started, you started with the target market. The target market, we kind of narrow it down to a thin slice of what we're looking for. And if you plan into the referral world, you as a person are responsible for your own referrals. So you only have so much time and so much capacity. The target is really necessary. And you got to hit it right on the morning. And then when you figure out what the actual target is, then your social media and your other messages have to match it, along with the places that you go to network and the referral sources you choose. And then the referral sources, when you've chosen and got relationships with them, and they're bringing you business and they're better equipped to talk about that little thin slice, then you get into the sales conversation. You can be more successful because you're at the point of assessment rather than the point of they don't really know what you're doing. It just sounded like it was a good idea to pass by or see who you are. It really all adds, it all works together, not in any one piece, really.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, guys. I find you seldom get the sale at the face-to-face meeting itself. It usually involves a proposal, etc. Any thoughts on the follow-up? Follow-up that cements the relationship. Anything you've tried that it's different from the same old, John?
Well, in certain businesses, it will require a proposal. It's just the nature of the beast, and I completely understand that. A couple of recommendations with that. That initial sales meeting may be all about fact-finding and getting all that information, and you may need to do some work to actually put together a proposal, and that is good. When leaving that first meeting, my recommendation is, first of all, have that second meeting already scheduled. Don't leave it to, okay, I want to send you a proposal and we're going to negotiate the deal by email. Okay, if you're going to negotiate a sale by email, you will fail. Okay, so you want to set up another appointment, either face-to-face or over the phone.
Yeah.
On the second appointment, okay, before even presenting the proposal, you want to recap your diagnosis. Okay, so you weren't getting enough business. Is that still the case? The type of business you were getting, you were losing money. Is that still the case? Okay, and then here's a real powerful question to ask after you've gotten all that information. Is there anything else that I should know? Is there anything else you should know? And I'll tell you, sometimes they will just absolutely shock you what they come up with next. Yeah, actually, I just started bankruptcy proceedings. or I just found out some health news that's going to derail me for a bit, which is going to make you completely relook your proposal. So recap what the issues and pains were. Ask the powerful question: is there anything else? Okay, based on all of this, my proposal is we would go forward like this.
Hey, this is a good conversation. Unfortunately, I can't stay on the behind the scenes today, so I got to drop off. But thanks for letting me join in on the conversation.
Thank you, Ivan.
Hi, Ivan. We'll see you next month.
Yep.
We are at that hour. Eddie, Mike, do you have any final comments you'd like to make, or would you like me?
Yeah, I'll just put a little finishing sentence on what Mike just said. Don't let the relational go transactional would be my only, summing up statement to that. Like Mike said, don't let a conversation and a visit to find out what to make a proposal turn into email for something that has distance between you and that person. And then the second thing I would say is, if your assessment is done well, you'll be adding value while you do it. So that will also give you another, I don't want to call it a leverage point, but it's going to be a point of endearment. And if you can get back to a face-to-face appointment again, your chances would go way up. But I don't think that there's any other real magic to it than what Mike said, and keeping it relational and not letting it go transactional.
Well, and would you not agree to also keep your referral source in the loop also of what's going on, so that way they're helping you along in this process?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So with that, gentlemen, we're going to talk a little bit before we go backstage, so those who want to ask their questions backstage can. We've really enjoyed having everyone with us today. I want to tell you we have the rest of the year mapped out, and I'm going to skip over September and come back to that. But in October, we're going to be talking about mastering the calendar with Ivan and Mike. November, we're going to be talking about public speaking with Dawn and Mike. And then December, we're going to be really talking about marketing during the holidays, because I know some people, their whole business just drops off at that time. And so it's going to be a great topic for that time of year. Next month is going to be really good, so don't miss it. It is going to be all about leadership. Where in your life do you show up as a leader? In your business, in your family, or in your community? On this show, Asentiv co-owners Dr. Ivan Misner and Dawn Lyons will discuss what makes a great leader and how you can develop those skills. If your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you are a leader. And that is a quote from John Quincy Adams. So it's going to be a great show. Mike, Eddie, I really want to thank you for joining us today. Ivan, I know you're gone, but thank you also. And you, our Asentiv community, and our clients and visitors from all over the world, we are happy to have you here with us. We enjoy having you every month, and we look forward to being able to give you this information to help you create an amazing business and a spectacular life. We're going backstage now. Thank you very much. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, Nanette.
You're welcome.